It's engineered for perfection. Every contour sculpted for uninterrupted motion. Wider, smoother, more refined, and drives like a dream. Introducing the 2026 E470. Experience the difference.
It is the fastest I've ever been up Angeles Crest. It is a 10 out of 10. To this day, I still dream about this car. I would donate certain anatomy to get one of these things.
Today on That Car Show, everybody's car pal Steve Ellis sits in for Dan, who's out this week. Controversial topics, we've got them. Revelatory cars, we've got those too. Acuras, Cadillacs, Porsches, of course. And even our friends the Amish pop their heads up over the proverbial fence. We're fired up, we've got opinions, and we ride at dawn. This was a really fun one with a lot of laughs and, hey, even a little violence too. It's Steve Ellis, and it's That Car Show.
Welcome back to That Car Show. I'm Lindsay, and I'm here with Ryan.
Hey.
And this week we have my good friend Steve Ellis with us, and I'm so excited to catch up with him. Steve and I met when we were both working for Haggerty a few years ago, and he was running the Garage and Social in Culver City when we first met, and that was my unofficial office. So we got to hang out a lot and work together on a few things, and he's just an amazing person. I'm so excited to get this time with him and share you with our audience. We have a very funny running joke because when you were on Late Night Playset with Jay Ryan, somehow there was the miscommunication of all miscommunications. And Jay thought you were saying that I was your mother. So I'm really excited. This is a very special Mother's Day episode of That Car Show. And I'm so excited to have my son Steve with us tonight.
Hey, everybody.
I think we did the math and I would have been 7. So just for anybody wondering,
Yeah.
it's not possible. The math doesn't math. So
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you too.
Yeah.
Years ago, we recorded some podcast episodes there, and you were very gracious to allow us to record with it was Justin Bell and Tommy Kendall, if I recall.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that was a great
an
facility.
amazing show.
Yeah, man, that was an awesome show. Awesome group of guys. Huge Justin Bell fan, obviously. A little
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tommy Kendall's a giant in the industry as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both such good guys and such good senses of humor and such a positive addition to any event, just like you, Steve. So
Glad
really
to
excited to have you with us. And so we obviously have a lot of topics to get into, and we're here to create some controversy tonight. But can you briefly sort of tell people, I think one of the most interesting things that you shared with me was that your mom was actually your introduction to the car hobby or being a car person. And I love that. So can you give us the rundown of how you got into cars and what you've done, because you do so many different things, and
Absolutely.
what you're up to now, and then we'll get into it.
Oh, man. It's funny as we get older in age and we look back on the timeline of things, we kind of go, wow, did all that happen, and has that happened?
Right.
But initially my mother, I had a piston and skull sticker on my bass guitar. And I remember I was practicing one day, and she came in and she was like, "What's on your bass guitar?" And I was like, "Well, I thought it was cool. It was like car parts, plus like kind of a rock look." And she was like, "Absolutely not." And so we had this whole thing, and I was like, "Mom, it's like cars. I don't know, it's like edgy." But she's like, "No." So then a couple of days later, she walks in the house and she's like, "Give me your bass." And she takes the sticker off my bass, and I was like, "Wow, really?" And she's like, and then she pulls out a PlayStation with Gran Turismo. And she's like, "If you like cars, you can play this game." Somebody at my office told me that this was like the best car game ever.
Sure.
Okay, PlayStation. I could sacrifice.
If you insist.
What she didn't know was that video game was going to create 30-some years of addiction to automobiles and lead me down a path that, I don't think they had planned for me, nor did I have planned for myself. But what I learned about the automotive industry was I grew up in that little gap where it was kind of like I was the young kid learning from the old school guys. And back in the day, and I think you could ask a lot of the old school guys this, like you can only be taught so much stuff. And you have to really kind of get into the nitty gritty and understand that you got to bust some knuckles, you got to turn some wrenches, you got to get behind the wheel. You got to race the car. So, fresh out of high school, I moved to Houston, attended automotive tech school, UTI, and connived my way into being in the parts and service department for Lamborghini Houston when they opened.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
And I showed up and I knew how to detail cars and I knew like car anatomy and stuff. And they were like, okay, like, we need a parts hand, we need a service hand. And so I came in and I worked there, was my first job. The Murcielago had just launched.
Sure.
So that was
What
pretty
a
wild.
time to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because if you go back, it wasn't me. But if you look up, there was an accident that happened at that dealership where the employees they hired after I left, the 2 employees they hired to replace me, the 1 employee, were racing cars and it crashed them outside the dealership. So,
Talk about
pretty
the
crazy.
jokes write themselves, I feel like.
But
would not have happened under your watch.
Not have happened under my watch,
Right.
no. And then obviously cars was a huge thing. Unfortunately, when I was in college, I had a friend get into a really bad accident, and it projected me on the journey of pursuing acting. And you kind of go through some things, you get out of your comfort zone. So a small Texas boy moving to Los Angeles was pretty crazy. But the one thing I didn't know was cars. And if there was anything that's in Los Angeles, it's car culture. So you attend 1 to 700 cars and coffees, you start to learn and meet people and shake hands, as I call it, shake hands and kiss babies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the doors start to open. And, it was, hey, you know how to do this, this, or, you can do commercial work, you can do photography. I started writing automotive articles, written for CF200 Members Magazine for the Peterson Museum, Driven World, contributed to Haggerty's Media, Road and Track, lots of publications that for a long time I thought, I don't even know how I got here. And it really all started with not being afraid to walk up to people and say like, hey, I like your stuff, or hey, I follow your stuff, or hey, like you seem like a cool person. Like how do we work together? And, I learned that the answer is always no if you don't ask it. And you'd be amazed at how many yeses you get when you do ask. So I've just learned to ask and ask and ask. And then when I don't get what I want, I keep asking.
That's the trick though. I think that's the secret of success, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's especially in today's day and age where everything's digital. I think the in-person approach means that much more to people. It does make people more memorable, makes people more engaging. And then, of course, obviously, at my time in Haggerty, I was curating events for the local automotive car culture. So you had to kind of be the host who was also like, hey, you haven't met Lindsay yet. Hey, Lindsay, have you met so-and-so yet? And so-and-so and so-and-so. And the next thing you know, it's like it all creates a big, kind of world that you kind of get to enjoy.
Right.
You get to work and be around the people that you like to be around. And then the common interest is that we all like cars.
Yeah. Well, and you're such a good connector. I mean, you really are. You have a good sense for who would benefit from knowing each other.
Like I said, Behind the Wheel started as an outlet for me to show car media and what I was doing. And then I realized that it was actually, like I said, the people behind the wheel that were making things really cool.
You've got a way about you too. You're just really easy to get along with. You've got a nice warm smile and right away that you're someone that can be trusted and someone who knows
It'll be a
his
good time
stuff.
Steve's there.
That's the Texan in me, I think. That's the pseudo Carol Shelby soul that I think is in me. I remember when I was doing research for a project and Carol Shelby was the person, and I forgot what book I read, but I think it's common in any Carol Shelby description. He was a big Texan chicken farmer.
Right.
And you just relate to that because it's like you can write your name on a piece of paper, but when you shake somebody's hand where we're from, it just means a whole different kind of thing.
Sure. Do you own a pair of overalls?
I actually do. I have a blue pair and a black pair of overalls.
Fantastic. Well, the next time we do a show with
committed.
you. Yeah. All right. Are we ready to stir the pot a little bit?
Let's
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So you are a man of opinions. In fact, the whole reason we connected on this is you were pretty vocal about a certain car that's been in the news. So I'm going to throw out a few controversial automotive topics, and I want your take, and we'll go from there. I think you can guess the very first one.
Oh.
But that's the Ferrari Luce.
You mean the Ferrari iPhone on wheels? Listen,
And there we go. You heard it here first.
I'm gonna be blunt, man. What WTF? I mean, I only say that because it's Ferrari.
Yeah.
If this had been, honestly, it could have been any other manufacturer. I think we would have just gone, okay, this is the
Right.
latest and greatest.
Yep.
But it's Ferrari. Ferrari has been, since its conception, the pinnacle of the prancing horse of motorsports. Refinement, design, elegance, performance, and
Distinction,
none
yeah.
of that is in that vehicle.
Yeah.
I've listened and reviewed every review, and I think the astonishing fact that I take away from it is that there's not any honest criticism about the car from a single outlet that I've seen. And I get it, not that I'm saying you bite the hand that feeds you, but I, again, grew up with the old school guys. It was say what needed to be said. And I think if you look at the comments on any post about that vehicle, that's what needs to be said. And it's appalling to me that there's not a single automotive professional that is voicing their real opinion on that fact. I mean, the car is atrocious. It does not represent the brand in any way.
No.
Do we hate EVs? Absolutely not. I mean, I've driven some EVs that have actually made me rethink the automobile and how to enjoy the automobile. But from Ferrari, that was a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
And
Well, and yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, I could keep beating a dead horse, but I just feel like that's just it right there.
As we said, a dead prancing horse.
Yeah.
We did there. You say we did there.
It's I think we've talked about this a bit before, but and you alluded to this, if there was any brand that was sacred, right, it's Ferrari.
It is.
Yeah.
We can give a little with BMW or whatever,
Yeah.
but Ferrari's always stayed the course, right? In a way that's, I think, unique. And to your point, there's no heritage baked in.
Yeah.
There's no soul. There's nothing. We asked the question, what is Ferrari? I don't know what the answer is, but there's none of that in this thing.
Like,
Well, it's
I
not
mean,
this.
to be honest, they could have made what is the SUV, the Persongway or whatever it is?
Yeah.
That could have been EV. And I wouldn't have known it would have batted an eye because that's still a
Right.
stylish looking vehicle.
Right.
Right.
It's not like they could not have made an attractive vehicle.
No.
What's shocking here is that they chose to do this.
Yeah.
And that they
Right.
believed that this was the direction, I guess. And if there's anything about Ferrari and you get to that very niche high-end market, you end up having to buy a certain vehicle to make you eligible to purchase a second other vehicle. And I can only imagine that's going to get force-fed down people's throats. And it's going to be, oh, how do you buy? You bought one of these. Well, I had to get one because I wanted the SFXX++. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Well, and
then
is that what Ferrari wants? Like, I would imagine that's not what they want the follow-up answer or like the next line to be. Yeah, I bought one because I had to. Like, that's not the slogan any, manufacturer wants.
They used to say that about the California.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like you had to
That's
buy
right.
the California, you had to buy the wrong, and those are great cars. And even still, the California being the entry level Ferrari is still a beautiful car in
Yeah,
comparison
yeah.
to this thing.
The Persongway too. It might be a Ferrari Outback, but it still looks like a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Right?
it still looks
This
like
thing
a Ferrari.
looks like nothing. Not Alfa Romeo. Aston Martin several years ago faced a similar dilemma. They came out with a Signet, which was Signet, say that again, Signet, which was based on, what was it, the
Smart
Scion?
car? I thought it was a smart. No, you're right. It was a Scion.
The Toyota, right, or Scion?
Yeah, I think the Toyota IA something or something like that.
Yes, like a car that's
Oh, the
perfectly square from
XA.
above, right? It
Yeah.
has a perfectly square stance, but they did a good job with it. In fact, I think they even stuffed a V12 in a couple of them, right? Just for good measure, right? And yeah, it looked like an Aston Martin, grill tacked on, but it at least it looked like an Aston Martin, and they were very, I think, transparent with why they did it, and
and
end up with kind of a neat car, but this
nobody's
is not that.
knocking the EV part of it. I think what everybody
Right.
was shocked is that they thought that was an acceptable design. They thought that the ergonomics of the interior were acceptable. They thought that this platform was acceptable when nothing on the lineage of Ferrari would lead or even point to that direction. And it's not like this, again, did they need an EV? Does every brand need an EV? You can argue regulations and we can get deep into the weeds on that. Sure. But again, the Roma could have been an EV. The Swangway could have been an EV. I'm probably ruining that name, but there are several options that could not have been what they did.
Right.
And it's just appalling that they thought that was acceptable. And what's crazy is that this follows what Mercedes released, which was also a very unappealing design of a car.
Yeah, that was something. No, I thought we had it bad, then. I thought that was the litmus test for automotive journalists everywhere. But, all we had to do was wait a week, huh?
Yeah, Ferrari's hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
yeah. Or hold my Peroni, as we said on the show. But,
exactly.
It's
one of those, you go, how is this? What was that meeting like where they went, yes, this is the final answer? Like you said, you're like, how did you...
Why not take
rubber
an
stamp this
design platform and make it your EV platform? Why create this thing? And again,
well, you make a good point about there is so much discussion and controversy and engagement, if you want, about EVs, and people have very strong feelings, and I think it is a commentary on sort of the, let's say, the shock factor of the design, that nobody's even talking about the fact that it's an EV, really.
And my argument that I still am 10 toes on with EVs is, why are we limiting the design language? Here we have a platform that is unprecedented in the automotive industry, could be designed in so many different variant ways, yet they all seem to come out looking like jelly beans. If I had to pick one and we lined them all up and we took the badges off, you would argue that the Lucid Air looks just like a Tesla S, which looks like, this and that. And I'm sitting here going I remember watching, it was a documentary on, I want to say Lincoln or something. It was the Lincoln Continental. And they were talking about how the Lincoln Continental was its anomaly of a design exercise because it was so long and it was a convertible and it made the chassis so weak because of the length and rigidity and whatnot. And I'm like, well, an EV doesn't have a transmission tunnel or anything, and so it has a really strong, solid bottom. So why haven't we seen any beautiful EV convertibles? Why haven't we seen any beautiful EV coupes? Why have, you know what I'm saying? It's why are the EV trucks gargantuan? There's so much, I feel like, ways to explore design that we've been limited to by the traditional combustion engine layout of a vehicle, and everybody's afraid to do it. They just keep drawing circles in that windows.
That's it.
So it's Cadillac, the Celestiq came out with a beautiful EV design, and they have this beautiful convertible. It was a yellow or whatever. Beautiful car.
Yeah, they had it at Pebble.
Yeah, where was that? Where are our EV Mustangs, EV, the cool stuff, man. And it's I'm not knocking the EV because at the end of the day, it's just propulsion. But it's now, if you're going to take away my sound and the rumble in the field and give me
something
jaw-breaking looks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I remember that when, the dawn of EVs, it was going to be this skateboard chassis, and it's going to be the return of coach building. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The return of coach building. And then Ferrari goes and fires Pininfarina. Right? And look at them now.
And then they hire the guy who's been making the same device for 22 generations.
Even the iPhone isn't quite so cutting edge anymore, right? That basically looks like the same damn thing as it did 20 years ago.
Square screens with circles on the back of it. It's not to knock it. I really hope that my harsh words are more encouraging than they are stings, because I want to see the cool cars. I want to see I want to see an EV. We were promised the Tesla Roadster. We never got that. We've yet to get an affordable, cool EV. I mean, let's be honest. What's the Rimac Rivera? Dumb, gorgeous car, but it's $3 million. That's it. It's BMW hasn't even made a M3 convertible or EV like comparison car. There's just nothing that's enjoyable. And I've been down that road because I literally told myself, if I sold the fun car, what would be the modern day car to drive? Because everything's fast as hell now. It doesn't matter. Everything's got 1,000 horsepower or at least 500 horsepower now.
Sure.
So speed isn't the question. It's if you sit in traffic and you're looking at everything beside you, it's gray, it's white, it's black, and it looks like a jelly bean. If you were in the 90s, if you were even the 2000s, even the 80s, 70s, there was color, there was flares, there were fender, it was design, there was uniqueness in the automobile. And it's kind of like, I saw a meme recently where it was like McDonald's in the 90s or something. It was colorful and shit. And then it showed McDonald's today where it's like a drab, all the colors gone. Like that's happened to cars.
Yeah,
and
that's a
I
great
think
analogy.
that's because unpassionate automotive people have become designers, or they've become marketing specialists, or they've become these product people that go, this is what people want. And then clearly that's not what people want, because then your product gets dragged through the trenches like the Ferrari did.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this a turning point? I mean, is this where we sort of reject this and things start to get good again? And does Ferrari just table this design and start fresh? Do you think they're going to keep trying to push it through? Where do you think we go from here?
If I was Ferrari, I would just make EV versions of the production vehicles I have. I'd make an EV Roma. I'd make an EV, because if you're gonna make me buy those entry level Ferraris anywhere, then just keep them electric. I can buy a E Corvette or a E Bentley Continental, or hybrid, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'd have done. I don't think that vehicle should have a place in the Ferrari lineage. I would like to think that if I drank enough tomorrow, that I would black out and forget that ever existed. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah.
With any luck, right?
With any luck. And people bring it up, and I just like spasm and pass out. I don't know.
It felt like a bad dream. Like this couldn't possibly be true.
It felt like an April 1st joke.
Yeah.
And
the number of people that were like, please tell me this is AI. It's AI, right?
and man, that's a whole other book of worms. AI in the automotive industry.
I know.
Had you asked AI to do that car, it would have been better. And that's the sad part.
Actually, I've seen renderings. There have been renderings where people have done, an aftermarket, they've elongated the body or shaved.
Sure, like a body kit.
The renderings look so good. Yeah, and you have to ask yourself, here I am, Ferrari, with a probably multi-million-dollar team designers.
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT to the rescue.
That's what you did.
Also 600, 700,000, I think, to start on this car.
Yeah.
What that thing
and I
adds up to anywhere near that price?
Yeah, that pricing is just to keep it in Ferrari. It's a Gucci bag,
right.
really a $5,000 leather hide that's probably made in a sweatshop somewhere, not Italian. No. But it's the facade of you bought something very nice. You bought something exquisite. So the price.
There's no hand-built V12 in there, right? That's pumping that price up. It's
right.
Luigi didn't touch that thing, and that's very obviously.
I mean, for me, with Ferrari as the brand, let's say you put Porsche and Ferrari side by side, both have long-running history in motorsports, but we make fun of the guy wearing the Ferrari hat, the Ferrari socks, the Ferrari pants, the Ferrari shirt, the Ferrari shoes.
Because he's got all of that on at once. Yeah.
Meanwhile, for the Porsche guys, like, we won Le Mans again, and we just have Porsche on a T-shirt.
Right. I think the reason it's just, it's caught on, like it has the discussion, and it's, I think, transcended just car people, is it's this whole concept of the enshittification, right, of everything. And I think this feeds into it. And not only is it the enshittification, they want more for it. It's just, it's, to add insult to injury. And it's just, I don't know, it's time to rise up. I'm sick of this shit.
Well, and the counter argument,
right at dawn,
want to say that, you're not the buyer, and it's like,
right. Well, that's for sure.
Anybody, and I mean, old, young, we know people who have worked their entire lives to save up their retirements to buy a Ferrari. Yeah. And do you think that that's what they're dreaming to buy? You're out of your freaking mind.
Yeah. Well, that's the only one they'll sell them, though. That's the even sad.
But I mean, but even still, then it's like a EV Roma, a hybrid California. There were several different ways that they could have gone about that.
Yeah,
Mondial has never looked so good. Yeah, as it does now.
And that's a huge thing. That I'm actually a huge supporter of when it comes to EV are the conversions for the classic cars.
Right.
I was actually having a conversation with Bissy from Bissy Moto
Yeah.
at Velocity, and he's made a huge wave of converting the 911s. You know, I hate to say it, but it's like you get faced with the opportunity of like, do I continue to operate and drive this vehicle, or do I not, because either parts are unobtainable or parts are inaccessible or they're just so expensive. And I think one of the most memories that I still recall is being in New York, and an F40 went sliding around a corner.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my dad, I was like, wow, what was that? My dad goes, that's a Ferrari. And it's moments like that I think of where I'm going, how the fuck are we here with this?
How did we get here?
Like, I saw an F40 slide around a corner in Times Square and just the sound ricocheting off the wing. And then you come out with the jelly bean of all jelly beans.
I know.
Yeah,
Steve,
and you'd like me to accept this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That F40, was that the moment that did it for you as a young person?
That is one of them. I think the most iconic moments when it comes to cars that stand out in my mind is that particular moment. When I was 13, my grandmother had, we had a 66 coupe, Mustang coupe. And I used to drive around. She had a huge ranch, and I would drive the Mustang around the land on the ranch. Couldn't see over the dash.
Amazing.
Everything. But I would drive that car so much that I'd run out of gas, like way out of the field, and have to come back and get gas and everything.
That's awesome.
And
that's like the ultimate childhood for a car enthusiast, right?
Yeah, like I was doing donuts, couldn't see over the dash. I just knew it was funny to hold the steering wheel, push the gas pedal, and the car would spin. And the third would be the first time I did an autocross, which was my first step into motorsports. I tell people when it comes to sports, I love football, I love basketball, but there's something about motorsports that I cannot find anywhere else. And I think that's because there's that life and death risk factor. No team wants another driver to die, but they will fight you tooth and nail to cross the finish line first. We've seen teams, cars blow up in struggles, and other teams jump in and they push. You don't see that. You might see like a football player falls down, one guy helps him up, sure. But like, when there's competitors like in the mall, you've seen people like jump the fence to push cars and drivers pushing cars so they collapse. There's just something different about people who race. And I that's just always been my focus on motorsports, because you can have that camaraderie, you have that drive, you have that tooth and nail to fight each other and bash each other into a wall or something like that. But it's like that scene in where what's his name, Nicky Lauda crashes, and it's like people stop. The other drivers are like, "Is he okay?" They're gonna
Stop to help him. Yeah. Well, it's like Derek Bell and Jackie Eakes. They are, they were fierce competitors, but they're also very close friends. And I think a lot of it too is like they're the only people, and the people they were racing with, but a lot of those guys didn't survive. Like nobody else knows what that feels like. So they have this tremendous thing in common that they can talk about really just with each other.
Yeah.
But I think it really shows.
20 guys play, 20 guys are 99% going to walk off the court. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't even imagine what they say is like in F1 season, it was not uncommon that I think 5 or more people would die in a season. And it's a crazy feeling.
That's a hell of an attrition. Like,
chasing speed. You're trying to, ink your name on a wall or a plaque, and then this risking life and limb. And I mean, it's a different kind of people.
But also the racing was never better. And that's kind of the sick part of it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and when you think about what they accomplished in the 50s, 60s, 70s, like, because you look at all the technology we have now, and then you look at, okay, they were doing like what they were doing at Le Mans in the 60s with the cars they had at the time is just stunning. I mean, like, Dan Gurney and Ken Miles and all that. I mean, it's like you can't put it into words, really.
You're going to open up something that every opportunity I get, I always bring this up.
Let's hear it.
Do you feel that there should be a racing league where literally they say the car can be this wide, this long? Whatever you want to do in between, if you want a V12, if you want a V8, you want a 4-cylinder, you want a turbo 2-cylinder, you want all-wheel drive, you want hybrid, whatever you want. I would love to see an FIA-like speed racer-like league.
Yep.
And everybody laughs, but I sit there and I go, are we not almost there? Because if you look at LMP cars, Like an LMP car destroyed the Nürburgring lap time and ran like a 5-minute some lap time, which was unheard of, still unheard of. So if the technology in the cars are there and that's that good, why aren't we doing more with the cars? Like, I don't feel that F1 is the pinnacle of motorsports anymore. I feel like, honestly, like WEC is kind of that move, because you've got LMP racing, GT4 racing, you know, different classes at the same time. Meanwhile, F1, it's like if you get past the first lap, it's kind of a parade lap, and then we're here. So it's like, if the technology's there, we're going to spend the money anyway. Why not go for genuinely broke and push the envelope? Like, because like you said, the technology they had back in the IMSA days and the Group A and B and C, whatever, it's like, what does that look like now? What would that look like now? The drivers are faster. The technology's faster. Tire technology is faster. Safety equipment is more safer. More safer. It's safer. So it's like, so you know, I would love to see a racing league where they kind of say like, hey, these are the parameters, and as long as you meet these safety regulations, run what you brung.
Steve, they have the steroids Olympics now, right? Where just anything goes. You know, they're just pumping.
This is the automotive version
up minutes before the competition. I mean, like this is that for cars, right? You know, why the hell not?
I asked that because look, we have all of these amazing vehicles that have been recently created, but they're not raced. They're just rich boy play toys.
Yes,
like, find me a racing league for the Bolide. Find me a racing league for the McLaren Solus. Find me a racing league for the Zonda R. You know, that's the kind of
Zenvo. I mean,
the Zenvo. Like the car, there's so many way cool cars now than there used to be.
Right.
So why aren't we doing more than what we do?
Well, and especially when you look at all of the engineering and intention that goes into making it as aerodynamic as possible. You know, all of the everything. And unfortunately, and you and I talked about this a lot, and Ryan, we've all talked about it a lot, sort of in pairs, is they get parked and they're expensive art, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like Jay Leno says, he's like, these are rolling works of art that if you need them to, they can drive, which is great. But we all are also like, we love to see them driven. That's what they were made to do.
Yeah. And that, you know, that F40, seeing that come around the corner as a kid. And then, you know, one thing that I really like about, like, I daily drive 95 Nissan Skyline GTR.
Yeah.
And that was because it was like, that was my F40, you know, that was my Gran Turismo dream car. And the best thing, everybody's like, what's your favorite thing about the car? And it's when I'm zoned out and I'm just behind the wheel and I'm like at a light and I'm just like, it's a normal car, I'm in traffic, and I look over and there's some kid losing his shit because he's like, oh my God. And he's like I've had kids run out into traffic to take photos. I've had to like pull over in gas stations because like kids are like, oh my God. And it's like,
or 50-year-old man, as the case may be, but yeah.
Well, it's the excitement that the car brings, you know what I'm saying? It's like, art is great, but I can't,
well, that's,
you know, I can't drive my Mona Lisa. I can drive my
F40. That's it. If you don't drive it, it's conceptual.
Yeah, right. And you know, even Jay Leno, when you bring him up, Jay and I have some weird run-ins in my time in LA, and every one of them, you know, a kid's like, oh my God, because obviously he's driving something bananas. And the first thing he's like is, jump in, open the door, da-da-da-da. And it's so funny to me when guys are like, oh my God, don't touch my car. Oh my God, fingerprints. Oh my God. It's like, bro, a bird's going to shit on it anyway.
Especially if you
like, if it's outside enough, you know, drive it, enjoy it.
I mean, that's what I love about Jay is that he does drive everything.
Absolutely. Like, gatekeeping to me, especially in the car world, is so ridiculous because you could literally spark or change the trajectory of somebody's life just by letting them sit in the seat.
That is
exactly
it. That is it. Steve, that's actually it's not one of my controversial topics. It was a question for later, but can we chat about gatekeeping in not only the car community, but the car journalism community, the car content creator community, because we've talked about this with others, but it's a thing. And I think we do need to talk about it because God damn, people are proprietary sometimes. Some people are wonderful. Don't get me wrong. There are some wonderful people that we all know out there. But there's some other people that need to loosen up a little bit, huh?
Man, I personally enjoy running into those people because then I kind of make it a point to like get around their hurdle. Yeah. And then when I do, and then they're sitting there baffled, I'm like, let me show you how. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you know, man, just the LA experience that comes to my mind is something as an actor that always stung out in my mind is it's lonely at the top. And I was always baffled by that statement because I'm like, well, if I'm such a celebrity or you're so well liked or everybody wants to work with you, then why is it so lonely at the top? And I realized it's because it's like a self-preservation thing. It's like people will gnaw off their own arm if they think it's going to save them, not realizing that that arm is going to extend and retract and help you do things and do all this stuff. And so they see it in the short term. There's like an intimidation of, well, if I bring you along, you're going to take the job for me and da-da-da-da-da. Bro, I'm not doing the same job as you. I might do a different job, and then there might be an opportunity to say, oh, hey, guess what? I can bring so and so along for this job, and then it's kind of like the sling effect, you know. You throw me ahead of you, I'm gonna reach back, I'm gonna throw you ahead of me, and keep going until we get to where we want to be. And I feel like if more people thought like that, you know, you just get a lot more done. You don't kind of one person can't, you know. Yes, you're the race car driver, but you're gonna have the guy changing your tires and the guy checking your brakes and making sure you know stuff does what it does. It's not a one-person job, and you got to think about life kind of like a race team. You know, it's like you can't see the weather when you're doing 100 miles an hour down the Mulsanne Straight, and that's why the guy on the radio comes around. He goes, "Hey, guess what? You're about to come in the rain," and you know, and then you're like, "Oh shit!" You pulled the pit lane. Now you got to get rain tires. It's not a one-man show, and life is also not a one-man show. Or
Incidentally, I think
a one-woman show.
No. But it's funny that the Venn diagram of the people, the gatekeepers, and then the people sucking Ferrari's toes right now are you know, there's a lot of crossover there, isn't there?
I mean, listen, I've as a writer for something, and I've had people say, "Oh, you can't really say that," and I'm like, my word isn't law, it's not definition.
Right.
What you've asked from me is an opinion, and a lot of people have seemed to lose their opinions because they're afraid of losing the next opportunity. But I'm like, but the opportunity comes from the honesty. Like, you know, I can say I'm a motorsports fan. I like EVs. Now, do I like the Tesla Model 3? No. It's like, okay, but you know, that freaking, what's that dang thing called? The Rimac. Yeah, the Rimac. It's really, really, really sick, you know?
Yeah.
And you just kind of like tell people all the time, it's like, you know, I consider myself a professional amateur photographer. I have photographer friends who have literally shot some things that, in my opinion, are the most amazing photography you've seen, you know? And they don't have the following or they don't have the thing. And so it's like, if you give an opportunity to say, you know, I've had companies will say, man, we wish we would have had a photographer. I'm like, I can have you the best photographer in the next hour.
Yep.
And they show up, they shoot, and they're like, where's this guy? And I'm like, he's been at home in his pajamas playing PlayStation, but he's a great photographer.
Yeah.
And it's giving that person an opportunity, and you know, they succeed. They see their work and what they're capable of, and that encourages them to do the next thing. And then all I tell people is send the elevator back down. You know, create an opportunity. If you're in a position where you can create opportunities, do so. You know, the world gets easier to navigate with a whole bunch of support. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, rising tide lifts all ships, doesn't it?
I was going to say this very same thing. Took words right out of my mouth. Again, like minds, right?
Yeah, like that was the big thing for me at my time in Garage Social. You know, when I took the job, they were adamant about someone creating and curating car culture in LA. And, you know, given that there's such a vast demographic of people here in the city and anywhere, you do have to make space for each people, but you make space and then you make those spaces mix. And that's a very hard dance to do. But it's something that I very much enjoy, you know, because like I said, my mother was a huge component for me in motorsports. One of my favorite pictures, there's a picture of her holding me up while we're playing Outrun. And she would the gas pedal and I would do the steering wheel. And so, you know, women in motorsports brings a different level of competition than what just normal guys to guys can batter. And I always tell guys, I'm like, if you're intimidated by a woman behind the wheel, then nut up and man up, you know, like if you're faster, if you're better, then go show it, you know. And
that's a beautiful thing, right? It comes down to, you know, can you do it or can you not?
Yeah, can you not? And I think all forms of competition, especially motorsports, equal the playing field. Because at the end of the day, it's like you're fighting the physics of, you know, tire tire strength and engine durability and human strength and mental capacity. And there's
Right.
so many things in motorsports that lay into it, and so many different moving pieces that make it such a unique sport in my mind.
Yeah. You want to move on to another controversial topic?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Controversial automotive topic number 2. Is it ever okay to cut the mustard? Speaking of rich guys and fancy cars and cars.
We're wading into the mustard, are we?
All right. I'm gonna run into this
The
one.
mustard is hot.
See,
I think last week our show was Dan doing his darndest to stay on Ferrari's invitation list, and I think this week we've decided to go in the opposite direction and just
I know I'm
knock
not.
ourselves off of every list.
I'm not. Listen, my saving grace is I'm hoping that Lewis Hamilton's like, hey, black guy, you can come front.
You're like, at the very least, I'm gonna.
Lewis. No, so man.
First off, how do you look in a cape, Steve?
Man, wait, ask the question one more time. Let me just think about this one real quick.
Sure, because there's a lot of baggage with this question at the moment, but I think it must be said, and I have my opinion. I know Lindsay has hers. Lots of people voice their opinion. But you've got this GTR. I mean, you are a performance driver. You drive the roads in Southern California that have, let's say, been in the news lately.
Yeah.
Is it ever okay to cut the mustard?
I feel like this is one of those moments where they're like, "Hey, that's a great question, right? I'm so glad you asked."
I'm going to answer this question as unfiltered and honest as possible.
Please.
On a
But
public,
we still have a show, Steve.
listen. On a public road, and on a public road,
yeah,
the whole purpose of not cutting the mustard is that in Angeles Crest or any of these canyon roads, you cannot see in certain parts.
Right.
In those moments, I definitely say do not cross the mustard. You need to drive as far as your eyes can see, and then not as fast as you know, but as far as your eyes can see. Have I cut the mustard before? I'm not gonna lie to you, I have, but that's been in the site where it's like I can see miles down the road. I'm not trying to cut the mustard on a blind corner. I'm not cutting the mustard on a section of blind corners. I need to fully and clearly see if I'm going to use the different apex or undulations of the road. I have been in the lane where I've come around a corner. There's been a car in my lane.
Yep.
And by the grace of goodness, we have not collided and whatever went on. It is a heart-stopping and gut-wrenching moment because your life literally flashes before your eyes.
Yeah, there's no
You
margin.
don't know. Yeah, you don't know what's going on with that person. They don't know what's going on with you. You're up here for a Sunday drive. You're thinking you're going to go home, have dinner, move on about your day. And somebody's poor decision can change that. So in that proponent, I 95% say absolutely should you never cut the yellow. Now, in the event that you can see clearly ahead of you and you know that, okay, that this is deemably safe, sure. But, regardless, the public roads are not a racetrack. If you feel that strongly that you're trying to set a race time, take your ass to the racetrack. Half these dudes that I find on the canyon roads talk about how badass of a driver they are, and they can't tell you what a proper apex of a corner is or what late braking means or any of that shit.
That's it, isn't
and
it?
so it's like, take your ass to a racetrack. And everybody who I know who has driven on a racetrack, and I'm not going to call out a particular quote-unquote self-proclaimed race car driver on Instagram, but if you are a genuine race car driver, you would set the example, and you know that driving like that on public roads is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll fight everybody. I don't really care. It's just my thing is, I think what should be first and foremost is safety. Second should be, being able to go for a drive and also get home safe. And, if that means you have to stay in your lane and you can't go as fast as you can, then so be it. I tell people, if you're in the canyons and your tires are talking too loud, you're going too fast. And if you need a higher compound tire, get a higher compound tire. But, it's not a racetrack. It should be, you go up there, you enjoy it, you drive maybe 5 or 6 tenths, and you go home. Because you don't want to make somebody an orphan. You don't want to make somebody, call a parent if he was a parent, but you just don't
Well,
want to ruin
yeah.
somebody's life like that.
That's the thing. That's
Yeah,
the
because
thing.
you can't undo that. Like,
Yeah.
once
No.
that's done, if you impact someone's life and family in that way, like that's it.
Yeah. And just it's one of those things where social media nowadays has given people a platform. How you use a platform is important.
Yeah.
I try to be mindful about what I post and encourage, because obviously some people can take it a certain way. Like, do I think street takeovers are a great thing? No. When I was a kid, was I doing donuts in a parking lot somewhere behind a Lowe's? Absolutely. But I think the difference of the culture is, like, nowadays these kids they're doing it for the clout, for the Instagram fame, or they're trying to get famous off of likes and shares. And so they're willing to do more extreme things, unfortunately. I mean, like, there's no difference. We were doing burnouts in the street. We were doing donuts. We were egging houses. We were doing all that. It's just now everybody's got a camera and everybody's got some kind of, desire to get notoriety. When I think back at our day, we were just doing it for the sake of fun.
Right, like for the love of the donuts and like
Yeah.
being in the car. I mean,
even street racing. We weren't
Yeah.
street racing
Yeah.
in the middle of the daylight in the middle of a busy street. We were like in a industrial area far away from everybody.
Right.
I
So,
think that's the
Right.
difference. Like you said, like if you're doing donuts in a parking lot, that's a hell of a lot different than taking over an intersection
yeah.
where, again, people are just trying to go about their day and get home. Or
And I mean,
get
there's
done what
that.
they need to get done.
Yeah, and I think there's a different, man, I'll be honest with you. I think it's when we stop whipping kids. Because
Yeah, what is it? Bring back like corporal punishment and public
Listen,
shaming.
oh,
Those
man.
go a long
I would
way.
argue every one of us up there has gotten the whipping every once in a while.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Now,
he's
whipping
from
has taught us,
Texas.
right? Listen, but that whipping taught us how to conduct ourselves. And I think one of the goofiest things I heard was somebody was like, I don't want to hit my kid in his identity. And I was like,
What?
Okay, I'm gonna whoop that ass. Like, I truly think those things, like, I'm not saying like beat your kid to death, but I think there was a definite better understanding of respect and authority.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
like, I would never, and even to this day, would it ever cross my mind to throw things at a police officer or be disrespectful in a sense of, I was doing something wrong, I got pulled over, take the L,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like we talked about in the last show. What's up is down. What's down is up. What's right is wrong. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
this is what they see, and anything goes, and it's. I don't think there's ever been a tougher time to raise a child. Speaking
I know.
as
I
a
was going to
father.
say, like, I think we're all like, we have all experienced like the current generation. And I mean, seeing what I see in the schools today, I mean, my heart goes out to the teachers
Yeah.
because
for
it
sure.
is wild. But like you said,
Yeah.
Steve, where it's like, when did we decide that there weren't any standards of behavior anymore and there
Well,
wasn't any
that's-
expectation of how you behave in public and like what I consider to be like basic decency and respect?
Mhm.
It's, everything is upside down.
Yeah, I feel like such an anomaly sometimes, because it's like, I'm a black dude who was raised in Texas, who's lived in California, and I see both sides of whatever, political fence you want to say, but also like the people in themselves and the experiences. And it's like, I've been around the world, I've met people all different colors and ethnicities and nationalities.
Yeah.
We're all the same. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's crazy the stuff that separates us, which is why it's awesome that cars, it's like we can argue about which car's the better car, what brand's the better brand, the Corvette's the best thing, the Porsche's the best thing, whatever. But, we're not beating each other across the head. At the end of the day, we're not bombing each other. We're not, being disrespectful, all these things,
It's
because we disagree about it. And I wish we
Right.
could have that kind of agreement and platform as we discuss more serious topics, and still, have the decency to realize that regardless of where you come or what border or what flag you fly under, it's like we're all the same creations of something bigger than us,
Right. We're all
And
still at the end of the day, people.
yeah. And I tell people, I think the biggest thing that we have, or that we should focus on about being human, is the humanity. And I think, that needs to be a lot more of that. And I think the younger generation just needs a little bit more guidance. Because I think, I
that's
think
the
about
perfect
like,
way to say it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like because all they have is what they see on their phones.
I
Like,
know.
Right.
what's popular? They look to their phones. What's
Yeah.
hot? They look to your phones.
Yeah.
It's like I see a big increase of, vocational work and vocational school because now these kids are so bored with technology, they're trying to get back to like the physical.
Totally.
They're
Totally.
like
Like, I
trying to
need
learn
some
how to like,
tangible feedback.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like they're trying to learn how to like make cabinets, and it's like everybody in COVID became a baker. It's like
The Amish people had it figured out this whole time, Steve. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
they're just sitting back with their non-caffeinated, non-alcoholic beverages,
Yeah,
being
wow.
like, nice.
The child beatings, the cabinet making,
I think
the clothes.
but the butter and the Amish furniture comes out pretty good.
Oh, have you ever tasted a better cinnamon roll? Come on, it's
I mean, like that's it's like that's what's kind of wild is that like I said, the tech is getting so overwhelming that people are going back to physical attainability, and I think we're seeing that too in cars because now, the younger kids are starting to not be concerned about what's the newest and latest that they can go buy.
Yes.
They're starting to be like, what can I fix up now? What grandpa passed away. He had this really weird car. Let me restore it. I'm seeing a lot of cool social media posts about like, hey, inherited this car. Or, hey, I bought this car. Or, hey, randomly decided to pick up this car and now I'm having to deal with its issues. And this generation, mine was kind of like the internet forums and we had like some YouTube stuff. But now it's like they're all tech is like, how do you do this? ChatGPT, how do I change the air filter on a 1966? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
They have the technology. And so it's cool that they're kind of getting back to some of that physical grassroots stuff in motorsports and cars.
That's it.
Well,
and I say
using
before
the
we
technology to support like an interest in the vintage cars. That's really cool.
Yeah. And, I always bring up that point too, where the reason I like to encourage design and competition in cars is that what hasn't been thought of yet or what hasn't been seen could be just one person's idea. I mean, I'm trying to find an exact example in the moment, but it's like there's such opportunities where somebody could step in and say, hey, let's make this better, or hey, let's do something different. And it starts a revelation, it starts a whole different aspect of the car community.
Speaking of revelation and speaking of sort of going back to the basics and manual and all that, I did participated in the Rocky Mountain Automotive Press spring press drive, I guess is what it's called today, where we got to drive about 25 different cars, right? And spend about 30 minutes in each one. Didn't get to drive them all, of course, but I drove a car today.
So much fun.
That was a revelation.
Oh.
And now, a lot of these cars are daily drivers and stuff, right? You've got the Subaru Forester, fine car, that kind of thing. Kias and, the new Telluride and the Honda Pilot and, some other cars. But I drove the new Integra. It's the A-Spec with a manual transmission.
Oh.
I don't know if either of you have driven this car, but you need to go drive it. This car is everything that I didn't know that they made cars like this still, right? 200 horsepower. I think one of the world's best manual transmission interfaces. Everything is light and to the touch. It's like a sewing machine. The car is built like a vault. $44,000, which I think is cheaper than the average car right now. And
it is.
200 horsepower doesn't sound like much compared to the electric cars and all this other stuff. But I drove my first GT3 RS yesterday, 991.2. It's a car that I've always liked. I've driven a lot of the standard GT3s, great. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't talk a tenth as much about that GT3 RS as I did about this Integra today, because it is everything, Steve and Lindsay, the stuff we grew up with, like the Hondas of yore, right? Like the Preludes and the Accords, the manual stuff, right? They still sell that car. It's this Acura Integra. You don't even need the 300 horsepower one, the one that's basically the clone of the Civic Type R. You get this, I think it's the A-Spec. It's the 200 horsepower car. It's the best car I've driven in years.
Speechless, Steve.
Speechless.
So,
I'm without speech.
But Steve looks like he had thoughts too.
So I have driven that car.
You have.
In my long search of if I were to sell the GTR, what would I get?
Mm-hmm.
And I came down to two vehicles, two which are similar in the fact that both are four doors, both are manual or auto. but completely different cars. And as I scoured everything that was currently available, it came to my personal conclusion that these are the two best cars in the market. The Type S was cool, but I do have to say, if I was just kind of got to go that route, I would have to go ahead and get the Type S. I think that's what they call it. Or not the Type R, but the Acura Integra.
Yeah, it's the Type S. Yeah, the 300 horsepower one.
And then I'll tell you, I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
I drove this car. I got one as a press car. It is the fastest I've ever been up Angeles Crest. It is a 10 out of 10. To this day, I still dream about this car. I would donate certain anatomy to get one of these things. And when I say this, Cadillac CT5V Blackwing is the best car
Okay.
I have driven.
Well, now I've got to drive
in
one.
probably the last decade.
Okay. All
I
right.
still dream about that car. Every time I think about something's better than that car, no. Cadillac CT5 Blackwing
okay.
is the best thing I think you can buy. It has everything you want. It is an exciting thing to drive. A 600 horsepower, 650 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
I'll be out. Here's another shocker. I didn't even want the manual.
Oh, interesting.
I drove the 10-speed auto, and it was so good. It was stupid how good it was.
Oh.
And just a fun little joke. We went up Crest and went for a drive, and there was a particular person in a Ferrari who was like, "Oh, a Cadillac. Oh, that's cute." And on the way down, said Ferrari caught fire. He said Cadillac did not.
Wow.
600
I
horsepower.
think I remember that day.
Yeah, I mean, and proceeded to drive to Long Beach. The car drove itself from all the way down to Long Beach, pretty much. The Super Cruise in the Chevy was 10 out of 10. Like, I could not find anything bad about that car except for they don't make it in a wagon.
No.
And I told the Cadillac corporate team, I said, they were like, "What do you think of the car?" And I was like, "It's a 10 out of, nah, it's a 9 out of 10. And they were like, "Oh, wait, it's another 10 out of 10. And I was like, "Because you don't make it in a wagon." And their guy was like, "Well, when we made a wagon, nobody bought it." I was like, y'all were in unprecedented territory at the time. When Cadillac made the CTV wagon, I think aside from the Volvo and maybe a BMW 5 Series wagon, I think those were the only wagon options you could get. But now, the performance wagon is a thing. Mercedes has one, BMW has one, Audi has one, and yet Cadillac, the originator of the performance wagon, or I feel like they need one.
That would be the perfect car.
And
unlike the RS6, it probably would stay in one piece. I say this only because I have multiple friends who had issues with their dream car.
Yeah, I know. I had a client who bought one, drove it off the dealership, and then while in traffic on the way home, it just turned off.
Well, I love that they still make these cars, and obviously the Blackwing's in a completely different league than the Integra, but it's also twice or whatever the price.
Yeah, 3 times.
Lindsay, is there anything like that just you thought you just had to stop and just sort of think about it? Like, damn, this is good.
I mean, I always
please don't say Bronco.
No, you know what's funny?
Oh boy!
Right. I'm like, no. Shockingly, no.
Bronco Sport.
I just. That's right, the Raptor. The Bronco Sport.
Bronco Sport.
This is the sweet spot. I swear to God, it is.
Bronco Sport is the car which shall not be named. No, you guys tried the Bronco too. Why are we doing this again?
That's right. Ghost of Bronco's past.
So I will say that my daughter and I were at the park the other day, and I could hear this car like circling around town, and it was like a dog, smelling bacon or something. So I'm like, like I popped up and I'm like, I know what that is. And if you've talked to me before, you have probably heard me mention this because I had one of the GT350R Mustangs, the 2017s, and it was the most intoxicating, exhaust from the factory and just the whole driving experience. So that is the one that still has me in a chokehold. And it turned out because we were in the park. It was prom over the weekend for one of the high schools, and it's this beautiful park. You can see the lake, and there were probably 100 kids there taking pictures before the dance. And this one kid pulled into the park, and he was in, I think it was a GT350, not an R, but still fantastic. And I was like, man, if you are cruising to prom in that car, you are just loving life.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He's in for a good night.
Yeah.
not a current car, but that's the one that just
Okay.
like, man, I miss that car.
I've thought about getting a Mustang just because I feel like it's one of those like staple cars that you kind of have to have. Oh, I had a Mustang at one point, you know. I feel
I was
like
gonna say you have to check the box, and then sometimes they're so good that you're like, I checked that box, and at some point I will be rechecking the box because they're so good.
yeah, I honestly like I would love a Bullet Mustang. I've been really
Yes.
Yeah, I like
keeping an eye out
those.
for like a
Yeah.
Bullet,
Yep.
just green, subtle with the wheels.
That's
and, you know,
that's what I
Because
want
it's such
too, Steve.
and if you know, you know, because they're very, like you said, they're under the radar unless you know what it is, and then
Yeah.
it's exciting. Like I got to drive the it was the early 90s when they first brought the Bullet package back. I got to drive one of the press cars, and I was like, this is so much fun.
yeah, man. I thought they were just so great, you know. And then the new Dark Horse is really awesome too. It's a great.
I have heard good things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're almost at an hour. I know you've got a hard stop. We got to 2 of our controversial topics. I had 5 or 6 here.
Okay. Well, let's do
But
it.
that's
Come back,
okay.
Steve. Yeah.
That's okay. We had a great conversation, and you talked about growing up on this ranch, driving, your grandma's Mustang. I think, and look how you turned out. I learned how to drive a manual. Lindsay, you too. I think we all turned out okay. I think the secret to a good kid is teaching them to drive a stick young.
Yeah.
And and they'll
Something
be on a
about
great
that emotional
trajectory.
damage from your parent yelling at you, you're burning up the clips. What are you doing? What are you doing?
If that doesn't work,
yeah.
beat the shit out of them. But
I was gonna say, like, so there's three tenets to raise a well-rounded, well-adjusted child who thinks critically is learn how to drive a manual when they're young, possible corporal punishment, and some public shaming just thrown in for good measure. But you're absolutely right, because when I was learning to drive a stick, there was one time I stalled it 4 times at a right turn, and I remember just the anxiety of ramping up, and there's a car behind me, and eventually they're honking, and my dad's going like, you got this, just do this, and me trying and it not working, and then you're building on like, well, I blew it the first time, and then you're agitated.
Yeah.
The formative experience of that, you build on it, right?
That's
Like, we all went through that.
yeah, it's makes a man or makes a woman out of you.
It does.
100%.
Yeah, it does.
100%. So, should we wrap
know.
this up? This is a
Yes.
good show. This was
That was
fun.
I know.
guys.
Well, you'll
Happy
have
to
to
be
come
back
back.
again. This is great. We'll get to
So
more
good to see you.
questions. We'll talk.
3 and 4 on the next controversial topic.
We'll just keep a running list of controversial topics. We'll be like, is it time to rile things up again? We need to have Steve come back.
Oh, these are timeless, Lindsay. Don't worry.
I
that's
figured.
right.
I'm like,
I'm
so we're gonna
curious
say
now.
them.
We'll do
You
the
got to
next
come
one.
back. You got to come
Yeah.
back.
I'm down. You guys
I
let
know.
me know when, and I'll be
All
back.
right. Excellent.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Well, thank you for
Awesome,
joining us,
guys.
Steve. And thank you to our audience for joining us this week on That Car Show. We appreciate everyone being here and sharing the show with your enthusiast friends. Please consider liking, subscribing, and of course, leaving a 5-star rating. We will always be grateful for that. Remember to always be driving, and we'll see you back here next week.
Awesome, guys.